Hi artists, we are back here with a color and skin theory which has been requested. I have summarized it into 3 different categories so it doesn't get complicated. There are other methods of categorizing your clients, such as the Fitzpatrick scale, which some of you might have already learned during your course or have heard of it. I'm going to talk to you about just 3 basic colors, basically 3 types of skins. You would have to categorize your client into any of these 3. If you can get them into any of these 3, it'll be so much easier for you to figure out what type of color to use for them and what would be the right color for them, and also in case you use the wrong one, what would be the outcome of it and how to fix it. So I'm going to try to help you out as much as possible. So here we go. Let's talk about the first one. It's called the Cool Color Palette. These individuals here tend to have the ivory fair skin with a little bit of pink. When exposed to the sun, the skin usually burns red and takes a few days longer to tan. Some don't tan at all. Blue veins appear a lot on the underside of the wrist. Their cheeks may be more prone to natural reddening or flushing after exercise or drinking alcohol. Some may even have light sun freckles. These individuals here have what we call the blue or the green undertones. So when you have these type of colors under the skin, you do not want to add more of this. So if they already have blue and green, do not add any type of pigment that already has lots of blues and lots of greens. Okay, so let me show you. Basically, if you have green and blue under the skin, you use the pigments that are opposite in the color wheel: red, orange, or yellow. Any brown color, regular brown color, has these. So for individuals in the Cool Color Palette, you can use any browns. This way, it'll neutralize their blues and greens, and you get a nice warm brown and achieve the color that you actually expect. Let me give you an example of what happens if you don't use the right pigments. What's going to happen is that the blues are going to stand out and they're going to float up and pop up on their skin. This is why we get blue brows, green brows, and hazy grayish brows. The second color palette are the neutrals. The neutrals are skins that are fair, golden, or olivey. They tend to have yellow or peachy tones. They tan easily. They have more green than blue veins. Yes, you can actually see a mixture of both. Some clients might have green and blue. That should already tell you that there's a good chance that they fall under the neutral color palette. Now, not all clients are like that, but if you see that already, you see those 2 vein colors, there's a good guarantee they're neutrals. Another way to figure them out is, if you notice on the screen with the pictures, the examples that are placed, one of these characters would have more of a yellowish tone on her face. You see the yellow tones on her? Look at the difference from Jennifer. Jennifer has more peachy tones wanting to pop out, and yet all of these individuals are neutral. Even the other picture that you see there, she has a little bit of peachiness too, and it's crazy because you're going to have clients that almost can fool you as being cool. The very first one we looked at, because their skin is very fair, but you have to look beyond that. You can see a little bit of peachy tones on the bottom picture on that lady there. So what we can do is, if you're having problems figuring that out, sometimes what you can do is grab a white towel, wrap it around the face of your client, and those colors are going to pop up. You either see white, pale white, or you see yellow, or you see peachy. Now, peachy colors and yellowy, golden, olive colors are neutral palettes. Also, these individuals tend to naturally have dark brown, black, auburn, or golden, even some golden tones in their hair naturally. So that's another way to figure it out. If they already have these natural highlights in their hair, then that tells you they're probably neutral. Another thing is, many European and Asian heritages fall under this category. Not all, but most. If you have these neutral tones, the goldens and the peach, you can use any pigment on them. The only thing that I want to caution you on is watch it with the individuals that are going towards the peachy side. Those individuals that you can see a lot of the peachy. In fact, it tends to even extend down to the neck. That's how you'll know. If they have a lot of those peachy tones and they have them even down on their neck, going towards their chest, and even with some freckles on the chest, then watch it with those. I would actually then consider those already on borderline towards the next category, which is the warm, meaning that a lot of those tones are starting to go more into the reddish side. So if you add more red, if you add a pigment that has red, guess what's going to happen? This. You end up having eyebrows that have that turn into an orangey color or a tangerine color. So watch it on those so that you don't actually end up with a client that has orange eyebrows. Okay? The skin palette that is our last one is our warm color palette. These individuals are very easy to categorize. Why? They tend to be the warmer golden, orange, reds, tans, and blacks. These individuals, when they're exposed to the sun, they simply get dark. If you ask the client, hey, when you go to the sun, get exposed, do you normally tan really nicely? Or do you feel like you get darker as the days go by? And as soon as somebody says, yeah, my skin tends to get darker, sometimes it even gets ashy, that's already your clue that they're warm. Another thing you have to be careful with is individuals such as the picture that you see that is, for example, Salma Hayek. Look at her skin. She looks like she's tanned, right? That is actually her natural skin color. So those individuals that have like a natural looking tan skin without actually having to get exposed to the sun, they are already considered warm. Even though they're on the light side, they are still warm. What happens with these individuals? Well, the reds and their black undertones predominate a lot. And here's an exception too. All redheads are considered warm. Why? Red predominates. So what happens if you apply red on these individuals, any pigments that have browns, for example? Well, you're going to end up getting brows that do not look pretty. So we want to make sure that you balance off those red tones, then those dark, because of the excessive amount of melanin under their skin. We're going to neutralize them by doing the opposite of the color wheel. So the opposite of the color wheel is green or blue, meaning any color that has ash in it is perfect for warms. So use ash colors for warm individuals. Normally, we recommend that you use one tone lighter than what you want to achieve. Why? Because the darker the skin is, the more melanin it has. That means that melanin can darken the pigment that you're applying. So if you actually want to get the outcome of a dark ash brown, you would have to put an ash brown when microblading or pigmenting simply because that ash brown, once it's mixed with their melanin or all the red tones that they have underneath, is going to simply darken the pigment when it heals. So once it's healed, you'll see actually the color turn darker than the one you applied. So you have to be very careful. Now, do all warm individuals do this? No. Only the exception are those that are very light. A light tan, very light warm color, those you could still achieve the exact color you're planting under the skin. For the ones that have darker skin, you can expect the skin to simply, you know, take that pigment and darken it as it heals. So be very careful with that. Here are the outcomes of if you don't actually use the correct color. So this is where you end up getting the reddish brows, and you end up getting even purple brows. So hopefully this informative video helps you to get a better understanding of what to use. So remember, you either have browns which have reds in it, or you have ash browns which have greens and blues in it. It's either those two groups of pigments, that this way you don't get messed up. So select the right pigment for the right skin. Take care.